Hey again! This time around, we have an interesting question, one I'm not 100% sure how to fully answer just yet without developing it directly, but let's see where this takes us. First off, the question. If Saorsa were turned into a video game, what differences would there be? I've kind of mentioned a little bit of stuff here and there, but never put in the full thought to such before, honestly. It's, I don't know, a little similar to the VRRP question and answer one, but different enough that it really does warrant its own answer, so here's the answer, I guess. To be blunt, this one would actually require developing the game itself, as different goals for the game would alter the outcome. Like, would it be a live-action game with cute abilities, or one which is turn-based, with action points still being used in bulk? Honestly, the way the action points are set up, it made more sense to have a game more akin to something like the original single-player game Knights of the Old Republic than it would to have something like Shadowrun Returns. At least that's most likely how at least one incarnation of the game would be built. I'd really kind of like to see a video game version of Saorsa that plays closer to its tactical RPG roots, though. More like Disgaea or Final Fantasy Tactics. Such an adaptation would need to change the rules of the game a lot more than the others just suggested, though. See, although Saorsa is based on tactical combat RPGs, it's been simplified in a lot of ways for use of play on a tabletop setting. Compared to the very fine-tuned complexities of most tactical RPGs, it's a bit weak in that regard, since I can't have players doing complex math, which would normally be taken care of by a computer. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned that before somewhere, but there it is again. The thing about that is that if I were to produce a tactics-based video game, I'd want to build it in such a way that it's clean and sleek on the surface, yet complex under the hood. The people who tend to play tactical RPGs tend to enjoy not just the tactical gameplay itself, but the researching the specific details of how the game mechanics work and such. Like, if you look at the Final Fantasy Tactics Battle Mechanics Guide, the thing's over 100 pages long. And I have read that cover to cover several times. The finesse and elegance within such is a thing of beauty to a game designer such as myself. To those who like that kind of game, it's perfect. There's so many layers of complexity, yet they're so seemingly simple and streamlined on the surface. The point is, if I were to make a tactical RPG out of Saorsa, I'd probably be substantially changing the rules so that they looked about 90% the same at first glance, but there were small, far more subtle, yet interesting interactions behind the scenes that I just can't do as a tabletop game. Now, like I said, this does not work with a tabletop role-playing game. It also doesn't work with most games which are based upon a tabletop role-playing game's rules. Something more akin to Knights of the Old Republic, as I mentioned earlier, is probably what you'd get. Some tweaks to the gameplay would have to be implemented to account for the issue with there not being a GM to oversee things, but you generally get sort of similar gameplay. I think I'd have a bit more obvious out-of-combat skill checks in a way as well, though, more akin to how Shadowrun Returns does stuff. For like 90% of the rules, though, Saorsa is designed in such a way that I've already considered the concept of a video game, or at least of several, being put to use. I have little doubt that the world will resonate with enough people that they'll want to see more of it. So I've taken that into account. How it would look like as a novel, how it would play as a video game. What would happen if it got adapted into a movie? I'm not going to make the same mistakes games like Warhammer 40k and Dungeons and Dragons have made by not having considered these things in advance. The games are good, but their translations have been really hit or miss. So yeah, I'd want to avoid that, and I may never actually have an actual video game version of Saorsa. I don't know. But if I do, I have a lot of it planned already for how it would work. But a lot of those plans are rather vague as well. The issue there is that each game genre would be a bit different. Like, if Saorsa ever wound up as an MMORPG, which is well within reason, actually, given the nature of the game, it simply couldn't play the same way as other types of video games would. As such, I haven't spent a ton of time on the specific details of exactly how it would work, because I have other aspects of the game that are still in need of being fully fleshed out. Most of it is already at this point, but there's still more work to do. So I can't really justify investing time into solving problems where I not only don't have a need to do so at the moment, but I don't even know what the exact problems that need solving are as of yet. If I do end up with a video game version of Saorsa, I will be tied into it very intimately. I've mentioned a couple of times, but my background is in video game design rather than tabletop role-playing design. So what that means is, if there is a video game adaptation to Saorsa, I will definitely have my hands in it very deep to make sure it turns out okay. Even so, I do have some roughly blocked out concepts. The conversation system in Saorsa can be transferred into a video game pretty much one for one, without hardly any tweaks at all to it in the slightest. The threat system, with regards to most of the game genres listed here, would actually work just fine with little to no modification. An MMORPG would need a slightly more complex setup, but it could work as is and still be more effective than most other threat systems on the market. I'd obviously want to tweak it further so that it's better than all threat systems on the market, but I'm picky like that. Anyway, I know it's a lot of vague and ill-defined points, and I didn't even really touch on the possibility of virtual reality role-playing, as I'd mentioned in the VRRP episode. But yeah, those are some thoughts I had on it. I hope that answers your question. So with that, I'm out. I'll see you next time.